So this is our class number 6, the last class of our short GMAT prep program for the league. And in this class, we don't have, in fact, a topic like in the previous 5 classes, but instead we're discussing strategies, which is part of the advanced program of our regular course. Well, data sufficiency, as I said in the first class, the worst part of the test for those who are beginning the studies and the best by the end. And this is a class that explains how it can change. What's it about? So let's imagine the process. What should I do when I see a data sufficiency question? As I always say, if you don't feel confident, use your paper. And if you feel too confident, also do it, because you might make a mistake. Discover the question stem. Discover what's the question really about. Then write the additional information, if available, and you could also rephrase the question, because sometimes it's not the question itself, but how you ask the question that makes all the difference. In the next slide, we have just questions, we don't have the statements. But this is important to know how it's important to understand, to think about the question stem. Does the number x have divisor d such that 1 is less than b that is less than x? Then you think, oh my god. No. Calm down. Understand this. Does the number f have the divisor d such that 1 is less than b is less than x? What if this is true? If this were true, then I would have a divisor between the number itself. Oops, the number would not be prime. And if it were false, the number would be prime. So, a better question, we will have changed answers. You should swap, but it's the same question. Is x prime? Then much easier. But pay attention. What is the role played by d in this question? It's just a connection. It's important, but it's just a connection. So if you have a statement that just says something about d, well, not sufficient, because I want to know about x, not about d. This one. If a squared b to the 4th is ab squared. When you read this the first time, oh, it is, but you cannot not answer a data sufficiency question without the statement. So let's think about the hypothesis. A squared equals b to the 4th. So modulus of a, the square root of a squared, when we did algebra, we really should do modulus is modulus of b squared. The modulus of b squared is positive, always. But this one, let's think about, it could have positive and negative versions. So a could be positive b squared, or a could be negative b squared. If it's positive b squared, then a is greater or equal to 0. So that's the question. Is a greater or equal to 0? What's the role played by b? Again, just a connection. So if we have a statement, for statement 1, b is greater than 10. Not sufficient. You don't even need to think. Why not? We want to know things about a, not about b. So we should focus on what we really need to do. Things that you should do with these statements now. Evaluate the first statement. Evaluate the easier statement first. You don't need to follow the order 1, 2. Don't forget, that's something that we have been saying for the last classes. Just be smart. Try to see if there is a relation between the statements, and you could also rephrase the statements. Another thing that is important is do not mix things up. There are some questions that are logical, there are some questions that are numeric. So if the question is x greater than 10, don't try to find the value of x, because perhaps you won't find the value of x, but you have information to know whether x is greater than 10 or not. Also, you could be the boring friend. Being the boring friend, you know, the guy that you say something that always finds something wrong about what you said, be this guy. This is a expected behavior, and I'm gonna explain you why. We have here two different questions, one in green, one in purple. They are very similar. I just want to know if the product xy is negative. First statement, x is greater than 10, therefore it's positive. Not sufficient. It's the same question, I swear, read. So I'm gonna put not sufficient here as well. Second statement, 1 divided by x is less than y. Only this, I know that I cannot pass the x to the other side because it's an inequality, so not sufficient and not sufficient here as well. It's just a minor change. Just pay attention to it, not sufficient, I guess. Oops, no. So since it's not sufficient, let's try to do together. X is greater than 10. So this fraction is at least 1 divided by 10 and something, but it will always be positive. And it's less than y. So y is greater than a number that is positive. If both numbers are positive, is xy negative? No. You can find the answer no. But it's sufficient to answer no. So sufficient, which would give us letter C. Remember 1 to 10? Second statement in the purple question here says that 1 divided by y is more than x. Well, this number is greater than 0. So this number is greater than 10, greater than 0, okay? You can get a little bit cranky because it's the inverse. So let's use 10 as the extreme. 1 divided by y is greater than 10. Let's invert. Y is less than 10. Whoops, it could be negative. No, it could not. It's positive. So, because this number, remember the first inequality, this number is greater than x. If it were negative, it wouldn't be greater. We should place this. So, whoops, now I know that y is also positive between 0 and 10, but sufficient. You could miss this. If you miss this, you would think it were letter E, but letter C. Also, never semantic. It's just one word, overassumption. I know that you will read this later with patience. So the question is simple. Is Z an even integer? Is it 2, 4, 0, negative 10? That's the question. Half of Z is an even integer. Half of Z is an even integer, where q is any integer. So Z is 4 times q. Okay. 4 times q is a multiple of 4. All multiples of 4 are even. So sufficient to answer yes. 3Z is an even integer. When you write this, you think if 3 is not even, but the product is even, this should be even. Then you would mark it's a mistake. it's sufficient, and you would answer letter D, which is wrong. Why? I didn't say that Z is an integer. I'm asking if Z is an even integer. What are the other possibilities? It could be a not integer, or worse, it could be a thing that is not even an integer. So if I do this, the result is 2, which is even. But Z is not an even integer. It's not even an integer. So this one, in fact, not sufficient. And the answer to this question is letter A. Also, you might find hidden elements. What do I want to say by this? Let's take deep analysis in this question. If n is a positive integer, is n minus 1 divisible by 3? Okay, well, that n is a positive integer. That's the information that I should need to know. The divisibility, so n squared plus n is not divisible by 6. Well, let's factor. Then n times n plus 1, this is not divisible by 6. To be divisible by 6, the number should be divisible by 2 and 3. So if it's not divisible, you invert everything, even the end. So if it's not divisible by 6, it's not divisible by 2, nor by 3. What happens? What happens? But it is divisible by 2. Because if n is even, n plus 1 is odd. If n is odd, n plus 1 is even. But it's not divisible by 6. So it should not be divisible by 3. If it's not divisible by 3, I also remember that multiples of 3 will happen every 3 numbers. If this one is not divisible, this one is not divisible, the next one is divisible as well as the previous one. So when plus 1 is divisible by 3. First statement, even though it does not look like, sufficient. The second one, 3n minus k plus 3 equals 0, where k is a positive multiple of 3. So I'm going to write like this. I always like to write like this. Now what do I get with this? I can divide everything by 3. So n is a given number minus 1, not enough. What's the remainder of x squared when it's divided by 8? X is odd, so x could be written as 2q plus 1 squared, which is 4q squared plus 4q plus 1. Then I might use this. Okay, you could pick numbers, but if you're really good in math, you might try this one. Why this one? When you do something by hand, even though you might take, I don't know, 15 seconds more, you will be sure about the answer. It improves your self-esteem during the test, and it improves your score. So, products to consecutive integers, it's even times 4. It's 4 times an even number is a multiple of 8. So 8 times another number, I'm going to call m plus 1. So the remainder is 1. The first one, sufficient. The second one, x is prime. I have 2, that's the problem. If I try to square 2, I get 4. The remainder of 4 divided by 8 is 4. So, but all other odd numbers, 1. So not sufficient. Since first statement sufficient, letter A. What about X. So this might be tricky, just pay attention. They are identical. First one and second one, they won't solve the problem. So letter E. The C trap, or just to try to be funny, you can go, all math teachers try to be funny, but they usually are not. It's not what it looks like. It's clear that both statements together are sufficient. So when I take a fast look here, okay, I can find A, I can find B, so I can find the value of K. But sometimes if you try to go a little bit farther, so 3AB, so I get here 3, I get here, as I said, 3A plus B, and in the denominator 5 divided by AB. This is cut out, so it's 3A plus B divided by 16. Only the second statement is sufficient. So this is letter B. If J and K are positive integers, is K divisible by 6? It looks like something that we have seen before. So J is K to the third minus K, which we can factor as K times K squared minus 1, which we can factor as K minus 1, K plus 1 times K. Product of three consecutive integers. It's divisible. So the first one's sufficient. The second says that K is twice N, which gives me that it's an even integer. Just that. It's not sufficient to determine whether J, we are talking about J, but not about K, so not sufficient. And the last question is this: what's the value of this expression? It seems to be complicated. Let's see. X, Y, and Z are consecutive integers in that order. What's the value of K? What's the value of this expression? K minus X minus Y minus K times Z. Let's try to do this. So this is the expression. And the best that I can get by now is this. First, X, Y, and Z are consecutive integers in that order. So I might say that X, Y, and Z, they might be said to be A plus 1, and A plus 2, but it does not give me any information about K. Not sufficient. Second, K is the average of X, Y, and Z, so K is the average of X, Y, and Z. Let's see what happens. Pass it to the other side. 3K equals X plus Y plus Z. So, as far we might think, not sufficient, but if K is the average, let's see what we can do here. So, I get X plus Y plus Z minus X times Y minus X minus Y minus Z times Z. X cuts X, this Y appears with this Y, so I get Y plus Z minus X minus Z times Z. Just try to do this to see what will disappear now. will result y plus e plus x plus z times z. This you won't simplify. So this one also not sufficient. You should consider the statements together. So when we consider together, we see that there is a problem with this z multiplying here, and then that not even together these statements are sufficient. So letter E. Well, this is the end of our last class in this small course. So I hope you all enjoyed. Just reach us in the link page for further information, and we will record new videos for you during